Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dive deep into a really powerful idea from Stephen Covey. It's a philosophy that's not just about being successful, but about finding real, lasting fulfillment. It's all about living what he called a principle-centered life.
So let's just jump right in with a question that Covey loved to ask, and it's a big one. Have you ever climbed that ladder of success? I mean, you've worked your tail off, you finally get to the top, only to realize it's leaning against the completely wrong wall? That the win just feels empty?
Yeah, maybe that feeling sounds a little something like this quote here. You know, you've crushed your career goals. You're a huge success on paper. But the cost? It was your personal life, your family. It's that classic feeling of winning a battle, but realizing you've lost the entire war.
Or maybe it feels more like this. You're just busy all the time. I mean, your calendar is a nightmare, your to-do list is a mile long, but deep down, there's this little voice asking, is any of this actually going to matter in the long run? You ever feel like you're just spinning your wheels, going nowhere fast?
And then there's this one, which I think a lot of us can relate to. It's that feeling of just not being able to keep a promise you make to yourself. You know, you start a new diet, a new workout plan, whatever it is, you're all in. And then, a couple weeks later, poof, it's gone. So frustrating.
So what is going on here? What's the real problem? Well, Covey's diagnosis is pretty sharp. He says we're all using what he called social band-aids and aspirin. We're just treating the symptoms, the stuff we can see on the surface, but we're completely ignoring the huge chronic problem that's causing all the pain in the first place.
He basically breaks it down into two competing ideas about success. On one hand, you've got the personality ethic. This is all about the surface stuff, public image, the right techniques, having a positive attitude. But on the other hand, there's the older, deeper character ethic. And that's all about what's inside. Things like integrity, humility, courage. It's about who you are, not just what you look like you are.
Okay, so to really grasp this, we need to talk about something called a paradigm. Now that might sound like a fancy word, but it's super simple. A paradigm is basically the map you use to see the world. It's your perspective, your model of how things work.
And here's why that's so important. Just imagine you're trying to get around Chicago, but someone handed you a map of Detroit. I mean, you could try harder, you could think more positively, you could even run faster. But all that's going to do is get you to the wrong place faster. See, the problem isn't your effort or your attitude. The problem is you've got the wrong map.
So that begs a really big question, right? If our personal maps, our paradigms, can be totally flawed, then what's the real territory? What's the actual reality that our maps are supposed to represent?
And Covey's answer is this. The territory is made up of principles, and he uses this incredible metaphor for them. He calls them lighthouses. These are the unchanging, natural laws that are just there. Things like fairness, integrity, honesty. They govern how things work whether we believe in them or not.
He tells this awesome story to drive the point home. Picture this. A massive battleship is out on maneuvers. It's super foggy. A lookout spots a light right on a collision course. So the captain tells his signalman, send him a message, advise you change course 20 degrees.
So a message comes right back, advisable for you to change course 20 degrees. Well, the captain is not having it. He gets a little irritated, pulls rank, and sends back, send, I'm a captain, change course 20 degrees.
The reply comes again, I'm a seaman second class. You had better change course 20 degrees. Okay, now the captain is absolutely furious. He grabs the signal and sends one last message, basically yelling, send I'm a battleship, change course 20 degrees.
And then this simple, quiet message comes back through the fog. I'm a lighthouse. And you know what? The battleship changed course. And that's the whole point right there. Principles are lighthouses. They don't move. They're natural laws. You can't break them. You can only break yourself against them. You can argue with a battleship, but you can't argue with a lighthouse.
Okay, so this is all great in theory, but how do you actually apply this stuff? Well, one of Covey's best models for this is something he calls the P/PC balance. He gets the idea from the old fable about the goose that laid the golden eggs. P stands for production, that's the golden eggs, and PC stands for production capability, that's the goose itself, the asset that produces the eggs.
And this idea of balancing the goose and the egg, it applies to literally everything. Think about a lawnmower. The mowed lawn is the golden egg, right? The P. But if you never do any maintenance on the mower, the PC, it's going to break down. A restaurant owner who focuses only on daily profits, the P, and starts watering down the soup, well, they're killing the goose.
customer trust, and pretty soon there won't be any more golden eggs. It's the same for your body, your money, your relationships, everything.
So this all leads to Covey's big idea, the inside-out approach. It's really simple at its core. It just means that real change, the kind that actually lasts, starts on the inside. It starts with you. You have to win what he calls private victories, like keeping those promises to yourself before you can ever have lasting public victories.
He puts it another way, too. It's the difference between primary greatness and secondary greatness. Primary greatness is your character, who you really are. Secondary greatness is all the external stuff, the social recognition, the fancy title. And if you chase that secondary stuff without first building your character, well, you end up right back where we started, climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall.
There's that great quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson that just nails it. What you are, shout so loudly in my ears, I cannot hear what you say. In the end, it's our character that does the real talking. It's way more powerful than any technique or any fancy words we could ever learn.
So this really just leaves us with one final big question to think about. What's your lighthouse? What are those core, immovable principles that you're trying to navigate your life by? And maybe the even bigger question is, are you actually steering your ship toward them?